I think if I hear you call me Becky one more time, six-pack, I'm gonna pop your tops. All six of them.
Who are you?
Hey, this is Matt once again. Welcome back to another video, and this is another request, paid request for Dakota. Thank you so much for that. If anyone wants to request pretty much any type of videos or topics or reviews, re-reviews, pretty much anything, you can feel free to send it either directly to my PayPal or join my Patreon. Both things are down below in the info box. Now this is for a 2001 film called Arachnid. Now it's directed by Jack Sholder, and Jack Sholder is one of those directors that's done a couple of good movies. I mean, in 1982 he did Alone in the Dark, which was a slasher film. Yeah, you'd call it slasher film. Jack Palance, Donald Pleasance, Martin Landau, Dwight Schultz, who played Howling Mad Murdoch on the A-Team TV show. So a lot of recognizable people, and that's a good movie. Nightmare on Elm Street Part 2, I like. I think that's a worthy sequel. Try to do its own thing. Try to do something different. The Hidden, definitely a solid film. He also did Wishmaster 2, a few others. It's funny, there's a written interview where he says this: I basically did this movie for the money, and it was a stupid script. I got to live in Barcelona for 6 months, and they paid me well. Everything was good except I had to go to work every day and shoot a dumb script. I have not seen this one since I made it. Some people say, oh, well, it's actually better than you think, but I basically tell people to avoid that one. Now, the movie, I will say this. It isn't that good of a movie, but I've said this before. If you took a Sci-Fi Channel movie, which this has the production of a Sci-Fi Channel film, acting-wise, character-driven-wise, etc. But if you had actual decent effects, or good effects, it could be, at the very least, a time waster. It would be a decent time at the movies. This is a perfect example of that. If you took the same movie, but it was a CGI giant spider, CGI this, CGI that, I'd be like, okay, it's just a dumpster, throw in the dumpster, forget about it. But at the very least, this has some fun practical effects by Steve Johnson and his group. Steve Johnson, this is a guy that worked on Poltergeist 2, worked on Big Trouble in Little China, worked on some of the stuff on Ghostbusters, worked on Species, quite a number of movies in this genre, and He's definitely the star of the movie, those effects. Now, granted, the giant spider doesn't really come in till like an hour into the movie. It's like an hour and a half. So in between, you get some little like centipede stuff. I know. And I will say this. The last half hour, or I should say really 20 minutes, the last 20 minutes made it where it wasn't a rant, this video. The last 20 minutes actually were not too bad, because you actually got to see the creature, you got to see the monster, and just, as a guy who appreciates and loves practical effects, I thought Steve Johnson's crew, for the low budget they had, did a pretty decent job, where it's, you see it bashing through doors, and they're shooting at it, and squibs are popping off its body, and there's a point where it's webbing someone and dragging it along. I think for the low budget they had, I appreciate the work that went into making these practical effects. Because the story isn't really much to run home about. I mean, some alien spaceship had like a tractor beam, was like a whirlpool in the ocean. I don't even remember what the fuck it was doing. And those effects are pretty shoddy, the alien ship. Mostly invisible. But like the whirlpool, like going up to the ship or down, where the fuck it was going. At the same time, a fighter jet collides with this invisible alien spaceship. Crash lands on this island. And then there's a giant spider. Now, I'm assuming it's a giant spider because of the alien. But the way it's done is weird because the guy has crashed. He's looking around. He sees the alien stand there. Invisible, non-invisible, invisible, not, visible, non-invisible. Visible, invisible, visible, invisible. You can see him, you can't. Then you see him, then you can't. That's what the fuck I'm saying. And then, boom, this giant spider kills it. I'm like, okay, so it almost, without dialogue much later in the movie, you assume there's a giant spider on that island the whole time. Like, you would think you would see maybe a regular spider, and then something got on it, some ooze, whatever the fuck. And then it created this giant spider. No, it looked like a giant spider. Boom, kills the alien. The alien phases out into non-existence now. Ready to kill the guy, off screen, then credits. So I'm like, so the spider is from the alien, but you don't really showcase that. So that's where the confusion happened. And then they explain it later. But I'm like, what? The way it was done was a bit weird. Like, whatever. So we get to our lead characters. And there's not much to these characters. The lady, I believe she was in The Descent. Not the star, but one of the characters in The Descent. The lead lady. I believe she's the girl in The Descent. The one girl, Juno, accidentally hit her, and then she was dying, and then the lead girl found her, and she's like, Juno, and she had the necklace thing. That girl is the lead in this. The girl that Juno accidentally killed. If you haven't seen The Descent, you don't know who the fuck Juno is. That's the character. Anyway, she was in The Descent. She's been in a few other movies. She was there. Then this guy, you tell there's a little bit of this going on. I believe he was the voice of Gambit on the X-Men cartoon. I didn't recognize it from the voice because that voice had more of a Cajun accent. This, of course, doesn't. But looking up info, I guess he's the same guy. And they are there. I mean, I've seen better. I've seen much, much worse. So, eh. Anyway, there's these bites happening. They're dying from it. They're wondering what the fuck's going on. So it's her, this guy, a guy who's really into spiders. He's a guy who's written books on the subject. Some other scientists and a few others. They go off to this island with some natives. And the first hour is a lot of like looking around, dealing with these ticks that burrow into people. They're wondering if there's some kind of virus thing going on, what's going on. The guy who got the ticks burrowed into him, he starts puking up bugs. And including like, looks like a piece of his eyeball falls out. Again, some decent effects by Steve Johnson. And one guy shoots him and put him out of his misery. Then you have like, these little mutant centipedes you see a little bit about. The reason the lead, wanted to go on this journey is that the pilot at the beginning of the film was her brother. So there's a way to try to find out what happened to her brother. And they find him dead, and the rest remains of his body looks like he's in this cocoon. And like I said, utilizing these practical effects really helped bring the movie up a few notches. Because it's not the characters. There's really not much you can say about the characters. It's not the acting. The acting is serviceable at best. It's the effects. I would say a film like Mosquito did this much better, because Mosquito, it knew what it was, full front assault. And at the very beginning, there's an alien dead body, there's Mosquito sucking on it. Oh, okay. 2 + 2 = 4. I get it. And then that seemed, a film like Mosquito went a much faster pace. Much quicker, faster, more fun B movie. Like we knew we're a goofy B movie. We're celebrating it. Here's some fireworks and here's the ribbons. Mosquito knew that. Here, not as much. But it's worth a look for those who like practical effects, especially the third act. Did you get some little decent parts here and there? There's one guy who is part of this big cocoon, and he describes how this stuff's eaten inside of him. That's a pretty effective practical effect sequence of him in this cocoon thing. And the third act. The third act, when the giant spider finally comes into the movie. At one point, it looks like it jizzed on a guy's face, or pissed on it. It didn't look like piss, it looked like jizz, but I don't know if that was supposed to like melt his face, and they forgot the effect to melt his face. But it's like the spider's on him, and it's like he just gave him a bukkake. Well, maybe he died of embarrassment, because if a spider don't give a bukkake, I'd die of embarrassment too. But we never see that guy again, so we assume that guy's dead. But yeah, the giant spider looks cool. I appreciate Steve Johnson's effects on that. It crashes through, they're attacking with a machete, they're shooting at it, like you see squibs on the effect of the spider. It tries to crush his bunker and the supply closet. At one point, they're cut off a mandible while it's trying to get them through a door. There's also this little nightmare scene where the lead dreams of her brother, and a fucking spider pops out of the brother, and you see like his skin, which that effect could have been better as a practical. Because it really seems as if you cut from the brother, cut to a reaction, then cut to like a fake rubber mask, and the spider come out of it. I mean, it's a cool idea, but I don't know. It could have been done better. I mean, like, even say The Fly. I think that it did something like that a bit better. But it was still, I like the idea behind it. And it's a nightmare scene anyway, so whatever. they get to a cave, there's a cocoon in the ceiling, they're battling the giant spider. I won't give the rest of it away. It is one of those things that it's hard to review in the fact of, unless you're someone that appreciates and likes practical effects, I don't know if you don't get much out of it. It's a B movie worth a look where, well, I guess spoiler alert at the very ending, spoilers. There's 3 that make it out, and then there's like this other giant spider, but he's like chilling and watching them. Like, you can imagine this spider's like smoking a fucking blunt. He's just chilling and watching them. He's like, man, they took my buddy and they put him on the fucking stalagmite. Which was cool. That was a cool scene. They did that shit. I ain't fucked with them. They didn't get the fuck out of here. That seemed like more of, hey, in case there's a sequel, there's still spiders on the island. So if someone else gets on the island and blah blah blah, you know, Arachnid 2, Electric Boogaloo. But that spider was just chilling. He's like, I ain't fucking with them. I ain't fucking with these people. That's what it looked like, but I know that's not the intention, but I guess just to show to the audience that they're still out there. And sequel, which never happened. But yeah, like my friend Michael CP, I would recommend it to him for Steve Johnson's effects. I recommend it to other people. It's on Tubi TV for free. Again, the 2 leads are okay, serviceable for what they are. Couple of decent effects. Like I say, if this is the type of sci-fi channel films I would rather have, where they take a very forgettable meh, but the practical effects help amp it up to at least a watchable time waster. And I would rather have this kind of film for sci-fi than 3-headed shark attack and other shit. I think that's why people say, well, this is better than I thought it would be. As Jack Sholder, apparently people have told him. That decision was the right decision. This is 2001. They were still doing like direct-to-video movies, whatever, with a lot of CGI. The fact they stuck with practical was the best decision they ever made. So on that front, I give credit to Jack Sholder for sticking with that, as well as Steve Johnson and his crew of effects. And again, the giant spider looked pretty cool for a low-budget direct-to-video movie. And so it's worth a watch for that. If that's not enough, I don't know what to tell you. But that's really what it has going for it. Like I said, the third act made it at least worth the sit on a cloudy day. So with that said, thanks for watching. We'll see you guys later. Bye-bye.